This episode is brought to you by Skillshare. The first 1,000 people to sign up using the link in the description will get their first 2 months free. Imagine you're a spy deep undercover and you have to relay a message to another spy without saying a word. Short of telepathy, how could you possibly convey a secret message without anyone realizing it? Well, how about your shoelaces? Hello, and welcome to the Infographics Show. Today, we're looking at the Shoelace Code and other secret techniques used by the CIA. During the height of the Cold War, the world hung on the brink of nuclear annihilation as the Soviet Union and its Soviet bloc allies prepared for war against the United States and NATO. Each side knew that in the case of war, every single advantage possible would have to be exploited to try and avert all-out destruction. And so the golden age of spying began. For deep spies undercover, though, it was vital to be able to communicate with their handlers or other spies without being detected, as a good spy assumes he is and probably was under surveillance 24/7. As is so often the case in the world of spying, one of the most effective techniques for clandestine communication turned out to be one of the most effective. Agents were taught to read hidden messages written with, of all things, a person's shoelaces. While no official lexicon was ever created so that if one spy was caught, the entire system couldn't be deciphered. Instead, agents were taught different ways to tie their shoes or arrange the laces through the shoe's eyelets so they could communicate pre-arranged messages. Thus, spies would come up with their own meanings for different shoelace combinations, leaving the message completely secret except to the two communicating spies. Some examples of possible messages included, "I brought someone with me," "I am being followed," or "I have information." Though the CIA remains secretive about specific operations, it is known that the Shoelace Code was in wide use across its operations around the world throughout the entirety of the Cold War, with the Soviets never the wiser. Government bureaucracy is notoriously slow and always seems out of pace with the modern world. Yet the CIA proves time and again that it is always on the forefront of new technologies and trends. In 2017, WikiLeaks published a trove of secret CIA documents given to them by a leaker. Amidst the leaked documents, there appeared a new form of secret CIA code, emojis. Using their popularity around the world, the CIA has apparently adopted a complex system of emojis to create entire covert sentences, the meaning of which is only apparent to somebody who understands the secret code. As an adapted form of a Vigenère cipher, a secret code developed over 500 years ago. Each emoji represents a specific word or letter, but the meaning of an individual emoji can be changed depending on what other emojis appear in front or behind it. So, for example, a smiley face may mean you, but a smiley face in front of an angry face may change the meaning to me. Thus, entire messages can be written, and even if the enemy discovers part of the cipher, they still won't accurately decrypt the message without understanding how each individual emoji changes the meaning of those next to it. We've all seen James Bond films, so what about when the time for words is done and it's time instead for action? To that end, CIA agents have had a plethora of tools at their disposal to incapacitate or kill. In the 1970s, US President Gerald Ford signed into law an executive order that banned political assassinations by the CIA or other clandestine agencies. Up until then, though, any politically dangerous individuals were fair game. Yet, as the Cold War began, the US realized it was far behind in sophisticated covert killing techniques versus their Soviet adversaries. As Nikita Khrushchev came to power after Stalin's death in the 1950s, one of his first orders was the assassination of Ukrainian nationalist Georgy Okolovich, a leader within a Russian anti-communist group. After a conversation with his wife, though, Okolovich's would-be assassin KGB officer Nikolai Kolikov defected to the US, where he revealed the tool that was to be used in the murder, an electrically operated gun and silencer hidden inside a cigarette pack and loaded with cyanide-tipped bullets. Yet, while Okolovich was spared, other Ukrainian leaders were successfully assassinated by another KGB officer, Bogdan Stashinsky, who, after defecting to the US in 1961, revealed that he had killed both men with a cyanide gas gun concealed in a rolled-up newspaper. The CIA recovered the weapon which Stashinsky had ditched in a river canal after his last kill and began to accelerate the development of its own covert weapons. The US would go on to develop the non-discernible bioinoculator, a modified .45 caliber pistol fitted with a telescopic sight that fired a toxin-tipped dart silently and accurately up to 250 feet. While the weapon was not as easily hidden as its Soviet counterparts, the dart that delivered the deadly poison was just barely wider than a human hair and almost completely undetectable during an autopsy. For more close-range and stealthier kills though, the CIA developed the Stinger, a small .22 caliber single-shot weapon hidden inside a tube of toothpaste. But what about when an assassination needs to be carried out in such a way that the assassin has time to get away? For that, the CIA proved incredibly ingenious, developing slow-acting but deadly poisons made from shellfish toxins, cobra venom, botulinum bacteria, and crocodile bile, all of which would be sprayed into things as innocent as a handkerchief. While it's impossible to know how many times these were used in the field, it's known that in 1960, one such attempt was made against Congolese President Patrice Lumumba with a tube of poison-laced toothpaste prepared to be inserted into the president's toiletry kit. The plan was rejected at the last minute by a CIA office chief for unknown reasons. Fidel Castro proved to be a popular target for CIA ploys. The leader of Communist Cuba was considered a major threat after he began to cozy up to the Soviets and declared intentions for Soviet military weapons and even missiles to be based on Cuban soil. The possibility of a sizable Soviet military force less than 100 miles from American soil was completely unacceptable to the US, and thus the green light was given for Castro's removal from power, either by assassination or by discrediting him in the eyes of the Cuban people. This chapter of CIA history would be known as Operation Mongoose. At first, the CIA attempted outright assassination, and to that end proved to be quite ingenious, even if their efforts failed for a variety of reasons. In one attempt, a Cuban double agent was to offer Castro a cigar treated with botulinum, a toxin produced by the bacteria Clostridium botulinum. But the plan failed when the double agent failed to get the cigar to Castro. Knowing that Castro dearly loved his cigars, the CIA did not give up in their efforts and developed an exploding cigar, which would, in their own words, blow his head off. A box was developed and prepared for delivery during a visit by Castro to the United Nations. But fearing the political fallout of an assassination during a UN visit, the plan was ultimately scrapped. Not easily discouraged though, the CIA started thinking way outside the box and came up with a plan to plant explosive seashells at one of Castro's favorite beaches. Ultimately, that plan was canceled too, when it proved ineffective during CIA trial testing. After President Ford's ban on assassinations, the CIA changed its strategy to one of instead discrediting the leader. Knowing of Castro's pride in his macho image, the CIA developed a cigar coated with a depilatory agent that would make Castro's beard fall off. After that plan was scrapped, Cuban security officials eventually created the private cigar brand Cohiba exclusively for Castro and to safeguard his supply of cigars from tampering. Yet the CIA would not be discouraged and proceeded with attempts to discredit Castro by more attempts at harming his macho image via hair loss. Known for leaving his boots outside his hotel room door at night to be shined, the CIA developed a powder to be dusted inside the boots, which would cause Castro's hair to fall out. Ultimately, the plan failed when he canceled his targeted trip. On yet another attempt to discredit Castro, CIA agents prepared a device to spray LSD remotely inside of one of Castro's broadcast studios from which he gave his weekly address. That plan too was ultimately scrapped for unknown reasons. From secret messages written with shoelaces to exploding seashells and cigars that make your hair fall off, the CIA proves it has no shortage of imagination. It's impossible to know what new and incredible plots and tools modern CIA agents are equipped with. But one thing is for sure. If it sounds too crazy to work, it's almost certainly been tried or tested by either the CIA or their Russian rivals. Because in the great spy game, if you come second, you're probably dead. These are just some of the things that ultimately became public. The real secrets are still with the CIA, but one thing that's no longer a secret is how to create a perfect morning routine. This is just one of the many classes that Skillshare offers. In fact, they offer over 20,000. And if you use our promo code Infographics32 or you click the link in the description, you can get a premium membership and take unlimited classes for free for 2 months. Join Skillshare and improve your skills today. Thanks for watching another episode of the Infographics Show. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more great content.